Oh,
Oh, hi
thank you.
everyone. It's Katya from TarotMap, and I haven't recorded an episode for Inspired Tarot Map for a long time. I just wasn't inspired, and this is Inspired Tarot Map. So, funny enough, that Jess was my first ever interview on Inspired Tarot Map, and it so happens that she has inspired me again. I'm like, let's talk. And now you kind of feel just like you again, a first episode after this long break. So I love how we weave magic together. It's really exciting. So welcome, Jessica. Welcome to Inspire.
Thank you, Katya, for having me again. Thank you so much. Hmm.
So, Jess, for anybody who doesn't know you, so Jessica Zinchuk, and Jessica is the creator of the Story Medicine Tarot. I actually have two of your decks here with me because people, I'm still in Croatia. I'm not going to run and bring them, but they're here, and I prove it. I take them to the beach tomorrow. But Jessica, in some form of veiled, I don't want to say conspiracy, but nobody knew anything about it. It's a surprise, kind of veiled, beautiful magic, has created the third part of the four-part deck that she's planning or had intention of creating. So we have already two, and now suddenly just out of the blue wrote me one day and said, I'm sending you the deck. And I'm like, what deck? So, Jess, here's the question. Because usually, or not always, but usually, very often, artists actually share their progress on social media, or they mention, hello, I'm creating the third part of the deck. And you did that before with the second part. Like, we kind of knew you were creating it. You didn't
Mhm.
post much updates, but we knew it's happening. About the third part, we know nothing and we didn't know anything. So, could you tell me, was that planned or was it part of a process that just like, took you in and you just couldn't share? Like, what was the
Mhm.
beginning and inspiration? And also, what was the reason that you didn't want to maybe mention anything online while you were creating the deck? Please share.
Mhm. Well, generally I generally don't show too much of my process, um, because yeah, I am so in it, and sometimes I know I'm creating something, and sometimes I don't. Um, but for me, it's very private, and I don't really want to know what anyone thinks about anything I'm doing, and I just don't really want any eyes on it because it's so vulnerable, it's so tender, it's so new, so I like to just be deep in the cave and not um, share too much. That's generally the way it goes for me, and then you know, yeah, I'll share when I'm ready. So that's been my process thus far. Um, I don't know if I will continue to be that way, or maybe I don't know. I don't know. You never know what's gonna happen, like with this deck. But anyway, this yeah. So the process of this one is a really great story. I'm happy to share. And so last fall, when I was releasing Animal Woman, I was taking a walk one day in my neighborhood, and I live in this historical neighborhood. The trees are big and thick and old and tall and um, magnificent. And so I'm walking, and there's this tree that I just want to be with for a minute. And so I'm mesmerized by this tree, and I'm standing underneath of it, and I'm looking up. Again, it's fall, and her leaves were just this shade of gold, um, that I will not be able to express. It was just so beautiful. And so I'm looking up at all these leaves, and the way that the wind was that day, um, well, I should also say that the leaves were not hard yet. They were not hard yet and crispy. They were golden soft. And so when the wind was coming through, it was coming through like shh, shh. It wasn't a strong wind. It wasn't a howling wind. And I was so haunted by the way that that wind was moving through those leaves that day. And I thought, oh my gosh, I know this voice. I know this voice. It's the voice of the ocean. So in that moment, I knew a seed was planted, and I knew that the third edition was the journey of life. That I knew. So I was pretty spooked by that. It was um, a very spiritual experience, and um, you know, that was that. That was just that. And then in the winter, um, I I wanted to start. I wanted to start because Animal Woman for me felt like it took so long and it was so hard, and I wanted to give myself more time and more space and do it different. And so I wanted to get started. And I had a couple intentions. One of them was this deck will create itself. And then the other one was I want to move with the wheel. So with the seasons, I want to create with the seasons. And I didn't really know, what that might mean.
Can I stop
Um,
you, Jess, just briefly?
yeah,
Just for people who maybe didn't realize or are they not sure, because as we mentioned, there's the plan is to have 4 decks in the series.
right.
So we already have 2. Can you
Uh,
remind us what the directions were?
Yes. So the first one is the north. The second one is the south. This one is the west.
Okay, cool.
So the last one will be the east. Yeah. So this deck is the west, is the journey of life, is the physical, you know. Um, yeah. So I had those, you know, um, things in mind, and also another important thing to add, a really important thing to add is, um, I created these first 2 decks with my partner. He was drawing or sketching, photographing me. We were working together. And um, I knew, I knew not long after we started Animal Woman that that would be our last deck together. I just knew that because it was just too fucking hard. Like we were growing apart artistically. I wanted to do different things. He wanted to do different things, but we were really trying to do this thing we said we were going to do. And um, and he really has been in this process more of, you know, um, supporting my vision and my work. So I wanted him to, grow into whatever he wanted and not feel like he had to do this. And so I knew that this deck I would create it by myself. And so that's a big part of this whole thing is that I never planned on, like like we think anything will be, we have an idea, but generally, things change. Things change.
Are you still
So,
together with your partner, or is it too personal?
oh yeah, no, we're still together, but like we just have we're growing apart in interests. We're still creating together, but we I think there was a time where working together all the time was very healing, and now like we just need more breath between
I
us,
can totally hear you because I have similar with my husband. We used to go to each other's workshops, always like
Yeah.
I think it's a part of the growing relationship
Yeah.
at some point,
Yeah.
and then maybe
Yeah, it's
with
like
time.
I feel like we really needed each other to get to a place of being more confident on our own. So that was also a big part of it was I wanted to get started because I knew I was doing it by myself. I wanted to give myself time. So in that winter of 2021, I got started. I wrote some very simple stories about the journey of life. I brought some process. I think you will enjoy this. I brought some of those original oil paintings. So the idea was, so here's the last breath. This was to be the Three of Swords, where
Oh, I
she's
love this
dying.
one.
Yeah, and so this was the oil painting I had gotten started. Uh, very real life, and the idea was to teach through this deck how to move through the rites of life in a sacred way. And so it was supposed to be a teaching deck, that was my vision. So here she's preparing the body, right? The loved one has already uh, passed. And this is me. I posed for everything. I took the pictures myself. I was drawing myself. I was painting myself. And there's like a hairbrush and a little bowl of water. And she's
It's like
wiping
Arya
her.
Stark.
Yeah.
It just reminded me, of Game of Thrones when she was having this apprenticeship when she was also like preparing the dead bodies and washing the bodies and
So it was very deep, It was very deep. I'll show one more here. This one is just kind of right before dying, the making, the reparations. So okay, so I started this. I did about 6 cards, and I'll tell you, when I was working with my partner, um, we just had an unspoken way where whatever we would create is just what it was. We were not going to turn around. We were going to keep going no matter what. So I was very afraid to stop. But after like the 6th card, I just said, like I have to stop. I cannot do this. I cannot do this. At that point, I was putting so much pressure on myself to like, I don't know, just stand on my own so strongly. And I was really pushing myself to, um, you know, uh, artistically grow, and just in all the ways I was really pushing myself hard, and it was intense, and um, I just couldn't do it by myself, everything, and with the depth, I just, this energy was just, for where I am right now, way too intense. I couldn't do it, and I knew it. So I made a conscious decision to stop. And I do believe, I will say, that this is a prophecy of the final destination, which is exciting. But at that time, I was devastated. I was devastated. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't stand on my own. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I have to just like throw this project like away, abort the mission, like I can't do it. This is, why would I commit to making 4 fucking decks? Like, what the fuck was I thinking? Just all these thoughts, and really really coming from just feeling so disappointed, feeling so just devastated. I was crushed. I really was excited about what I was doing, um, but I couldn't hold it, and by myself right now. And so I put it away. I just put everything away, and that was that. Then um, something started to happen. So that winter, um, Baba Yaga started haunting me. Okay, and yeah, I'll tell you. So what happened was, I would, in the middle of the night, I would hear our home phone ringing. And I would go check it, and it's not ringing. So at this point, I thought I'd lost it. Like after the end of this little process I just had, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. I finally lost my mind, Kasia, like, and this kept happening, and it kept happening. And I was scared, and I wasn't scared, because I generally, I do hear a lot of things, and I am often hearing very high ringing frequencies in my ears. But this was different. It was in my house. It was loud. It was not like the way that I hear other frequencies generally. So it really caught my attention. It was really in my face. It was really intense. Sometimes I couldn't sleep. It was really... I knew an energy was calling me, but I didn't know yet what to do. I was just, it was happening, right? So that was happening in the winter. And then in the spring, my partner took the kids to our beach house. And I was alone, and I was in bleed at that particular time. And, I was just feeling like crawling out of my skin at that point. Like, just, I felt like I couldn't rest. I was just so unsettled. Just, it was just, I just wanted to crawl out of my skin, just really, really unsettled, and kind of angry. And so because I had the space and the time, I just intuitively followed my instinct. I grabbed my laptop one day, I went outside, I sat in the sun, and was just like, just gonna take some breaths, just gonna, be with these feelings. And I get out there, I open my laptop, and these Baba Yaga stories came out. And so then I knew that was the energy that was nagging me all winter, and had been cooking and stirring deep in me. And so it came out in one day, like just, and it was super intense. Of course it was just the raw stories. They were, over time, they were shape-shifting over the whole rest of the year. But they came out in one, just, whoop! So that was, an experience. And then I thought, whoa. And so I just put the stories away, because I didn't really understand what was happening. It wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to channel these stories for this new deck that I'm creating. I was devastated. I wasn't even thinking of that.
So the stories didn't have any connection, like, oh, this is Two of Swords, or this how I...
No.
You didn't. You just like were writing about Baba Yaga.
Yeah,
Baba Yaga.
that was it. So then I put it away. And then in the summer, so we're traveling around the wheel, see? So then in the summer, I thought, okay, like, I think this is the deck. And the reason I knew that is because anytime I would be with the stories or be close to Baba Yaga, I wouldn't hear that ringing. But anytime I put it away, the ringing would happen again. It was like, she was like, no, work on it. We're working on this. I'm using you. So, I was like, okay, I think this is a dag. So, in the summer with my partner, we have this, moment of hope where we're like, okay, maybe we can do this deck together. Maybe we can. Maybe we should. Maybe it's fine. Maybe we were just having a rough moment. So we storyboard it together, you know, and we say, okay, we're going to start it in the winter of 2022. That was our plan. Like, we'll go around the wheel again. We'll keep going, and we'll start it then. So we put it up on the wall, and we would just, often look at it. And so we put it away again. And then towards the end of the summer, August, September, I was sitting in our art studio one day, and I should also add this in. This is an important part of the story, that the artwork that you see in this deck, this is the way that I commune with the goddess, and with the Kelp Mama. This is the way I talk. This is the way I speak with her on a daily basis. All the creative work that I do, comes from this place, this raw, wild place. This is how I create my visions, like even this, I posted on Instagram the other day, this statue, this bronze statue.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this was a, oh, she's heavy, This was one that was a test pour. But anyway, this came from one of my drawings. So that's where everything grows from, stems from,
And also, I think, you will show the deck in a sec, because the deck is waiting for me.
Yeah.
But I think people would love to see it, because there's nothing online about it. Like,
yes,
a few stories about it and that. And I was just, please maybe show us some cards.
Yeah. I'll show you.
While you're finishing the story, so people can
okay.
see.
I'll show you some of these. These are some of my favorites, okay?
Yeah, cool.
So here's the magician. Sorry, there's a glare.
Well, let me just put you at the speaker. Okay.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So this is a part of my process to, to draw this way. Yeah. So I'm sitting in my art studio, and I'm just doing what I usually do. Sometimes I just go in there and I will have drawing sessions, and I just look up at the wall, and I'm looking at the Ace of Swords. And I just, let me see if I can find Ace of Swords. I'm looking up at it, and then I'm drawing it. And so here's that one. That was the first one. And I fucking loved it. And I just laughed, because I just never thought to create this deck like this. I never, ever would think to create this deck like this. And so I just laughed, and I just, so then, I was locked in my art studio for like 6 weeks, and just had a really deep, intensive dive with, Baba Jaga, and that was kind of it. That's just what happened, and all was said and all was done.
That's pretty amazing, because when you said, I'm sending you the deck, and then you send this picture, I was a bit like, what the fuck?
Yeah!
I was kind of expecting probably that they look like the first 6 cards that you created, that I hope you are going to use at some point in the next deck, because that's amazing. And also, I told you, and I said, like, I have to be honest, that if I have to choose the artwork, probably it's not my favorite artwork for me personally. I love, I'm like, where is my medicine woman? Where is my, big, amazing fucking body full of embodied woman. Like, I want her, plus
Yeah.
we have 2 other decks, and this is not coherent. Like, how am I going to fucking
That's what.
work with this deck? So I was a bit like, come on. But then also there was the other side to it when I was thinking, oh my God, like, I so fucking admire you, because I know in an artistic flow, especially when you have this intention, I'm creating 4 parts to the same kind of thing, but it's different. So easy to get caught up and like pressure yourself and stop the creative flow because of some form of, expectation of how it should look, which I think maybe
Yes.
happened exactly to you when you were creating this first 6 cards, when it just becomes fucking too much and you feel like there's no flow because you have this expectation of how it should look. I think that you like managed to free yourself and actually follow that wild call. That's very, first of all, Baba Yaga, because it's fierce kind of authenticity, and you just, I'm sure you had a moment when you go, oh my God, people probably think I'm crazy or whatever they will think. But you also said that you didn't want to share because you didn't want that input in while you were creating. And I think that's also really important, because I think with the social media now, we often forget also, about that right, that we don't fucking need to share everything with everybody. And some things are sacred while they're brewing, and they can't even be exposed because they will be influenced. And this purity, when you actually have a container to to hide it, that makes them sacred, and that makes them just more powerful. So I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, am I going to love it like the other two because it's so different? And then at the same time, like, really impressed that I felt that honesty and that kind of power in your work that always comes when you do something from, that space of you. And I was just wondering, the Baba Yaga, because as I said, like, we're both Slavic. She's sometimes, I always call her like that she's, more on the fierce love side of things. She doesn't often give a fuck, and she can be as much of a villain as she can be a supporter or like a guardian or helper. But very often she's just like, And you mentioned in the video that you put like a warning on the deck. Can you speak a little bit about maybe your connection to Baba Yaga? Why it was suddenly her? I mean, if you know, because maybe you don't know why she came out with the stories and not fucking somebody else. I don't know. Like, tell us a little bit about Baba Yaga.
Well, let me just say that when the deck did come out, it felt really good. And there was a couple dreams that I had right before the deck came out. One of them was that I was in the bathroom squeezing my blackheads, and they were coming out like long spaghetti, right? Yeah, and then the other one was that I was erupting like a volcano, but I hadn't erupted. It was like building. So I knew something was coming. That was a little while before this thing exploded out of me. So I knew it was coming. And it felt great. It felt so great. I really have never felt so free with myself to create this deck. And so there's that. But after, I mean, I loved it when I first got the test prints, many test prints. I loved it. But after a while, I thought, oh my gosh, what are people are not going to get it. Like, they're not going to get it. And just so much doubt and so much worry about how it's going to be received. And so I knew through that process that she was here to teach us to overcome our fears. And so, immediately when I got that message from you, like, this artwork is not my favorite, it was like, that's it. Like, that's what she's here to do, to say, what are you afraid of? Let's go. Let's do it anyway, and
because
so
it's never one color, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the artwork might be not my personally favorite. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe the fucking deck will be my favorite out of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, it was just
Yeah.
not what I expected, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
But that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. That's what this medicine is. It is for it is for moving through the world fully yourself, knowing that you are loved. You are loved, you know? You are. You already are. Because, a lot of our experiences all come back to, we just want to love and we want to be loved, right? We want to be received, you know? And we are loved. We are already. So how if we know that and we move from that wisdom that we are already loved, I think we can then, kind of move through those fears and unapologetically be ourselves no matter what anyone thinks, right? And so that's the medicine of it, is, to face those fears, to fully be yourself no matter what anyone says,
And I think there's also magic in it that when you are sure about yourself and this process,
Yes.
this truly came out of something important for you, something big.
Yes.
When you hold that space and you have still connection to this product, let's call it so boldly, I think that's transferable. Like, people feel it.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
You have that curiosity about it because that means something to you, and it's not just made for I need to make this next day. It's it's important. It's feelable. It's something that we feel as recipients. And it's interesting that it's Baba Yaga as well, because I think she is so paradoxal in some, as a archetype or as a being energy, that she holds this paradox. Like, she's ugly and cool, but also ugly and fucking scary, and then she can be like a grandma, maybe cooks you soup, or cook you as a fucking soup. It's just it's just so paradoxal.
Yes. Yes.
When you raised on Baba Yaga's tales, I don't know if you were, but I was. It's always you never know how you feel about Baba Yaga to the end, but you fucking okay, thank you, sorry.
Yeah. Respect, right?
Totally.
There's respect.
Totally.
So to answer your question, your other question, I believe that I'm just going to use an example of the Yeti, right? There's different Yetis in different regions, in different parts. They look different. And the same with Baba Yaga. There's different Baba Yagas in different regions. So I believe that, the kelp mama, this is a different face of the kelp mama, that's what I feel like, that she turned her face towards me and she looked different, and I was like, what? She is, if you know Animal Woman, she's this green woman, but a different face of her that we have not seen yet. And so she's the underwater, underworld dark mother, from the kelp forest. So you will see that, in this deck. It's all happening, but it's underwater. It's underwater. It's the kelp forest.
What's the writing on that? It's
so let me tell you that. That's the other thing about the evolution of this process from 1 to 3, right? The first deck, I had a guidebook. I didn't like it. The second time, I did the YouTube stories because I thought I really need to use my voice. I want to be more true to myself and the storyteller in me, because that's really what this is all about for me, is the stories. And so that's the one thing that I'm so super happy with, proud of, is that I put the stories themselves on this cards. You cannot not know the story and work with this deck. And that's the way I want it. That's the way I like it. Because a lot of people, you don't have to have the guidebook, or you don't have to watch the YouTube stories to work with Animal Woman or the other deck, right? But it's all here. It's compacted. Which is another reason why the illustration worked well, because see, I was kind of worried about how would I put the stories on something like this, because when I would add words to it, it was too fucking much on one card. It was so busy, you don't know if you should look at the story or the artwork. It's just, the cards are so small, so it was too crazy. And So it was actually very centered around the story, which is for me the way it's just always supposed to have been. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I love that the stories are here. So you have to, and I wrote that here, in this card, says, how the hell? Learn the stories before you start reading with the deck. Learn the stories in this order. Here's how you do it. I said there's no traditional meanings or guidebook here. Refer to your womb and or bones for further assistance. Thank you very much. It's like in this process of creating, we grow, and it doesn't really matter if we like something or not like something. It's just, I think, are we honoring what is coming out in that moment, And
yeah, I get it. I totally
get it. To talk about the discretion is advised on the back, you asked about this.
Yeah.
So, this is.
By the way, can you read it? Because
discretion is advised. Warning. Warning. Discretion is advised. This deck will radically alter and transform your life. Use at your own risk. Okay, and yeah, this is not a joke. I mean, I really mean that. If she was haunting me, so I'm speaking truth here, work with this if you are ready to really move through some fear, if you are ready to, transform some things in your life. And I mean, really transform some things. It will shake things up, and so be ready for that. It can be very disruptive. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you are, ready to move through it. It's real.
So what I see from with the cards that you showed, the majors come with no text, right? And
correct. Yeah, the majors are just like this. They don't have. They're just. They are visions of Baba Yaga. They're visions. So she came to me and just whatever moved through my hand, and whatever came out is just what came out for those energies. So they're really up for your interpretation, how you feel, and
what you see at the moment, because that's
what you see in the moment.
Yeah.
And she also reminds us, like Animal Woman, and she is Baba Yaga, that she can come in any form she wants to, and she will. So, she doesn't just have this one face.
I love it because, you can easily say Mary for Baba Yaga, or Help Mother for Baba Yaga, or Baba Yaga for Mary. It's just another form of face of the goddess.
Right.
It's just like really interesting when you speak. I can, like, every time you say Baba Yaga, I can go Mary, or anybody can say any other form of divine feminine. It's interesting. But Jess, so with the minors, you changed also the name of the suits, right? Because so what are the suits?
Yes. So the suits. So yeah. So for the swords, we have death. For the wands, we have rebirth. For the cups, we have birth. And then for the pentacles, we have life.
Oh, okay. So you just did the cycle of life, and definitely very beautiful. And I saw that, I think on one of the pictures that you sent me, there was a card menopause. What are cards?
Yeah. So the journey of life. So let me say that this is just. Maybe I can share some ways you can use the deck, because we're kind of like.
Okay. Yeah.
Do that.
Because that will be the next question anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So. I wrote down 3 things. So first of all, you can call on a story. Okay, you can call on a story that you feel connected with in this deck. You can call on that story, or even a part of that story. So maybe a card, and that you can use that as a teacher or a guiding energy to help you move through something in your life. Okay, so that's one thing I wrote down. The other was you can use the face cards, the riddles on the face cards, as affirmations or invocations for remembering. So we have the we have the journey of life here. Okay,
Okay.
and so it goes from the wands to the cups, the pentacles to the swords. And so here's potential. Okay, here's conception.
So these are like cord cuts, yes?
Yeah, rising. So your birth, childhood, menarche, giving birth, tending, change, transition, menopause, wise woman, dreamweaver, soul traveler, death, mystery. So you're going to go through the whole journey of life here. And these have this face cards have riddles and they're so fun. So you can use these, like for example, here's giving birth. She's the goddess mother of birth. Stretch to the edge, tune, 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 bending bones and making room. So you can chant that. You can sing that. You can move that as a prayer in your life. You can make your own prayers or chants or riddles, inspired by. Here's
That.
Yeah, so here's change, daughter of life. Dance like a hairy thing, shake like you mean it. Dance like a scary thing, change like you fiend it.
So what's the transition and change? What's the difference? How did you like
Yeah.
differentiate?
So okay, so let's say this. Um, the first two decks and this deck as well, with the face cards, I associate them with the fourfold goddess, or what I call the inner women. So we'll just say that. So the page, right, being the daughter energy, the knight being the young mother energy, the queen being the goddess mother, and then the king being the grandmother, right? So that's the fourfold goddess or the inner women. And you will see that in deck 1, deck 2, and this deck as well. What's different here is that you can really expand on working with those archetypes. So for example, Kasia, you want to work with the grandmother energy. You're like, yes, I'm working with that death energy, with the swords, with this story. And what you will see here is, for example, with these are the death face cards, okay? So daughter of death, right? Young mother of death, goddess mother of death, grandmother of death. So it's like there are these 4 phases within the archetype, right? So you might say like, this is baby crone, right? This is your, right? So she's dreaming more. She's in a dreamier space. She's slowed down. Here she's maybe flying in and out of her flesh, right? She's really starting to direct her soul, you could say. And then there's the final death, and then mystery. So within the rites, there are these
Phases.
Yeah.
Layers.
Within the archetypes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can work with it in that way as well, where you're calling on a specific inner woman. And I will also say that I really believe, I really know that that this is the full range of our feminine power. We all have these archetypes within us, no matter how old we are or where we are in our life. This is our innate woman heritage. It's within us. It's just there. So we can tap into these energies. We should work with these energies. So noticing in your life, I don't really know who is the goddess mother. What is that phase of life? What is that about? What is menopause about? So these things. So to help people better learn that, I put also a wheel, because people are always like, oh wait, explain it to me again. Who goes what goes where? So I put this so that people can kind of see where I'm speaking from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fairly easy. It just, rather than have the triplicity, you have the quadruple. Like, And it's you just kind of separate the mother into the young mother who's just like really caring for the babe, and then the
Yes.
adult mother, which is a little bit different stage in
Mhm.
women's life, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of easy. And I think also for people who, like me, let's say, never gave birth, physical
Mhm.
birth, like you can take it as a giving birth to a project, or
Yeah. And that's
producing something,
also
caring for something, and so on. So just
that's in the cup story. So she goes back and she says, I became a mother in the same way my mother did. You heard it. You heard the story. And I wanted to know what else could my womb do. So she gives birth to a vision.
yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
that's in there too, which is special.
Just to make it clear for people. And so we have these three kind of ways. As we were talking, like, these are just suggestions. We were just even laughing, like anybody
Yeah.
can do whatever they want with
Yeah.
text. We can always find some curious ways to work with it, and once we have it and, like, work with it, sometimes it opens up new way to, like,
Mhm.
introduce itself to us.
Mhm.
But I was also curious about how would you, and if you even would suggest connecting it to the first two, because they
Yeah.
now they seem so different in looks, but maybe not so
Mhm.
different in actually the whole energy and stuff. Like, just
But
seems similar from what you showed now.
you know what I was thinking about? I feel like these decks are like my actual children. I have 4 children, right? And my first 2 are from my first partner, and then my next 2 from a different chapter, a different partner. And I think, oh wow, what's happening here? This is like another child, but all the same mama. You know what I mean? Let me show you this. Let me tell you a little story here, and you tell me what you think. Okay, so I'm going to use a mix here of the 3 decks. So stitch by stitch, right? Stitch by stitch, we're weaving the web. We're dreaming in red. Our magic. And we're cooking it slow. And we're tasting as we go. We're following our belly, our song. We're following what we know, right? Woo! Deep belly call. Deep belly call. We've been here before. We've been here before. We've been here before. And there's helpers. There's helpers along the way. Thank goodness, huh? Thank goodness there's helpers along the way. To support our transformation, our ever evolving and becoming. And then we emerge again, resurrect, back out into the world. Only to keep practicing the dance, to keep doing it again and again and again. To continue embodying our medicine. Flowing, being it, and dreaming it onward. Just dreaming it onward. So that's a little flip through there of many people might wonder how these decks connect. And they do. This medicine is evolving. It's all the same, you know. And so
It's wonderful to actually suggest that we make stories out of the three. I think we
that's
often
the
get stuck
suggestion.
as
Yeah.
tarot readers, or like you get stuck on like spreads or
Yeah.
answering questions. And I
Yeah.
think this side of tarot, which you always put forward, is actually not so often used, but it's so powerful, and it's such an awesome creative side of tarot, which I love so much when you actually um, like you make magic with the cards and you empower the cards. You use cards as little spells or prayers, or
Yeah.
like it might have nothing to do with the traditional meaning and so on. You just
Yeah.
free play. It's deep.
Yeah. Cool. Free play.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do it. Do you actually tend to use the decks together, or do you tend rather to use them, like you use sometimes this one and sometimes the other one, or you
I have so I have one deck that is always rotating. Um I should say, I have obviously I have more than one copy of my work. So yeah, I have this one deck that is shuffled with my favorite cards of all three. And then I have also, an animal woman standing on her own, first edition, and this one. So I have like they stand individually if I feel like working with them like that. And then I have one that's like just all spun, my favorite stuff.
yeah. So now if we just like could like weave the three together, the first one would be like the young. Would you connect them to some like four phases which we were doing, with the personal cards? That the first one would be like the daughter, then the second one would be the young mother, this one would be the grand, or like would it somehow fit or not really? You didn't look at it.
I mean, you could see it like that. I guess I see it more as a just a direction. Um, you know, for me personally, it's a gift to that direction, and offering to that direction. But I will say that I kind of call each deck something, and I called the first deck the door.
Oh yeah.
I called the second deck the path, and this one is the stones.
Oh.
Right. So,
The fourth one will be the stars.
yeah, right? I like that.
By the way, I wrote it down, but when you were telling this dream that you were squeezing the,
Yeah.
I had exactly the same dream. It was a long time ago,
Seriously?
but I just remember this dream so vividly, and I have it in my dream journal. And it was exactly the same. Like it was so long, like I couldn't sleep, and it was kind of yuck. And like you go like,
Yeah.
let's get out. Like, what are you? So it was funny.
Yeah.
Dream came up as well. Wait, what else do I have? Do I have any other? Um, okay, just to like, what was the hardest about creating this deck, if anything? I know that you mentioned this in a way, but like everything, just because it seemed like it once you knew, it just jumped out of you within a few weeks, and that's why I think it was also such a surprise when you said, "Hey, I'm sending you a deck," because I'm thinking, what, when, how? You didn't even say anything, and it wasn't so long after you just released kind of
Yeah.
4 months ago the medicine women, so I was going like animal woman, so it was just surprising. So would you say that once you kind of let it happen as it wanted, it just flown, or was there anything?
I mean, I feel like this deck has been a year long process. It's just been weird for me, or not weird, but just new for me to move through it in this way because I'm used to working a certain way. But this has been, I've been praying for this in my life, just for more ease and less pressure on myself, and to just, when things want to come, just let them come, and to give space between things and not worry when or if or how something's gonna be. So it was very cool. And I've seen a lot of other things moving in my life this way where, there's this kind of quiet period, and then there's a big surge, and then there's this kind of quiet period, and then there's this big surge. Whereas before, I was, I don't know, I was trying to create structure for myself, and I was like, okay, every day I'm going to paint and work on this deck, and this is what I'm doing, and yeah, this is how it goes. And so I feel like Baba Yaga is also teaching us that, which is why there's so much tending energy in the video of right, like I'm ripping up my processes, I'm in the compost pile, I'm showing that everything's working, very chaotically, but it's all actually in a wonderful, mysterious order.
I so need this medicine, Jess. I realized now, like sometimes I'm better than other times, but I realized that I'm a pusher. Like the cultural kind of, even though I'm aware of it and I kind of with my mind know it.
Yes.
It's so hard to take those breaks because I'm kind of similar. I think a lot of women would be probably similar because we have this natural cycle through menstruation, even, which, advertising doesn't really support that, because sometimes when I see it, like, oh, buy the tampon and you can be really active.
Yeah.
The menstruation, like. But it's interesting that, like, even now, like, I'm observing myself, and it's hard for me, especially when you on the fiery, airy type of personality, like I am, to like actually really take those breaks. And when you work for yourself, you kind of tend to always worry a little bit, like, oh, will I earn next month, and what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I can't really rest. And I want to rest, but I'm not really resting. I'm kind of on holidays, but I'm not on holidays. It's really hard to also, if your work is your passion, to find this split when you're actually working and when you're just drawing cards for fun, like in my case, or maybe in your case, when you're working on something and when it's just drawing for yourself. So I think that's really interesting with this deck, that it comes at this time for me personally, because I have been thinking a lot about it, and I know it comes cyclically. It's not the first time I think about it, but it's just kind of growing on me, and I keep deepening this understanding of myself. And what you just said about those cycles, how it's surge and then withdrawal, or like rest. And for me, sometimes it's really hard to take that rest, because the surge has this, inspiration, you feel fucking on fire, you feel like alive, right? And then the rest comes like, I don't know, if I rest, or if should I sleep and watch Netflix, or should I just watch quiet? I want to be quiet.
Yeah.
That's interesting to actually take it and sometimes sit with this, because rest doesn't often feel like rest. It feels like fucking death, and it feels like, what's wrong with you? Do something interesting, like, get up and like at least go for a walk or something. And sometimes you don't even feel like doing that. So it's really interesting, because I think with this project and how the deck works, and just to maybe finish off, in this YouTube video, which I'm going to, of course, link below for you guys if you haven't seen it, you do destroy the original artwork and all the sketches and everything, and you kind of compost it and create something out of it as well. And was it like a conscious thing, or did you just like, it just felt like, okay, that's it? It's because to me it felt like, I've done it. This is my baby. I pushed it out of me, and please go, grow, do whatever, I'm not longer kind of attached to you in this sense, like I'm letting you free, I'm letting you go. How did it feel for you, this process of destruction?
I mean, I think that, again, when we're tapped into that full range of our feminine power, we know where and how to be destructive, because we are protecting life, and we want it to keep moving forward. So we know how to keep remaking and alchemizing and using our magic to keep going. And so, of course, that felt really good, and I tried to do that, like where, for example, sometimes I'm creating something, and then I think, oh, well, what can I do with this later? Or, oh, this will have a time later. Or, tending multiple things, and just knowing that, yeah, I'm tending life. I'm tending life, and so, I think that, I think that's, it gives me hope, to know that things can be remade, that they don't, that things can keep living on. Like, all those processes and papers turned into this giant paper mache kelp that I danced in. It was a vision I had. And I had a sister telling me yesterday, whoa, I saw my own soul energy in that. It was just this really powerful transmission. And, so in that sense, art and expression and story, it can live on in us. It can live on in us. I always say, the songs are the seeds grow in me. Remember in me a garden, a chorus of life. The songs are the seeds grow in me. Remember in me a garden, a chorus of life. So that's the idea. That's the idea. Just that life will go on, and we can count on that. That we know.
And I think that was the perfect way to.
That was the closing prayer.
No, it was lovely, Jess, and it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. And I really, there's some cat drama going on outside. I think that's Baba Jaga's.
Yeah, sounded like her.
She needed to step in and say bye as well. So thanks as well. Thank you so much for catching up with me. Always such a pleasure to see you and to see you make something, and it's always wonderful. So for anybody who would like to take a look at the video that you created, which is amazing, by the way, I will link it below. I will link your website where people can check out your work. And yeah, till the next time, I think. Fourth part, whenever it comes. Yeah. But we'll be here, hopefully. Never know, but let's hope we will be here. Thank you so much, Jess. Much love. And thank you everyone for watching. Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.